All right, welcome back to Terminal Garage. So today I'm going to be carrying on with the Suzuki Carry Rescue. In the last video, we got that engine torn down and we found out what was wrong with it, a bent connecting rod. And I've made some phone calls and I have decided I am going to rebuild this engine. I've already got some parts ordered. I got a couple more things to order tomorrow. But yeah, parts are going to be on their way. So we're going to be getting this engine actually rebuilt. I probably could have bought a used engine for about the same cost, but you know what? For some good content for the channel, and also to have actually a completely overhauled engine with a new clutch, it's just the way to go. So let's just get right to this and start getting this thing cleaned up. All right, so I've got the block all cleaned up. I've got the oil pan all cleaned up. The cylinders are, they're gonna get bored over. I don't have to replace the sleeves. I found a place that I'm going to be getting some new pistons, a new rod, and yeah, get these bored out once I get the pistons. The head, I just dismantled the head. I've got all the exhaust valves, or those are the intake valves, the springs, the keepers, everything all bagged together. The valves, these are all the valves. I got the intake side and the exhaust side. The arrow is pointing to cylinder number 1. So I've just got those all on there. So those will have to get all cleaned up. They actually aren't too bad. So the head is now ready to go and take it in and get it all just cleaned up. And actually, let's turn this thing around. So there you go. It is kind of ugly looking, but I am sure that this is going to clean up just fine. I'm going to pop the spark plugs out. But yeah, this is ready to get all fixed up. All right, so I got the head all cleaned up. It actually turned out pretty good. Again, it's all dismantled and everything. I don't see any issues. Here, I'll just flip it over, look at the other side. So what I've got to do now is get the head resurfaced. I took a Dremel tool and went down in the cylinder, or in the ports here, and just with a wire wheel, and just cleaned out any of the crap that was in there. They actually turned out very good. There's no cracks in the head that I can see. It looks good. So the next thing I'm going to be doing, I'll be dropping this off at the machine shop soon. And these valves, I cleaned one valve up. I got to do all the rest of the valves, and I can lap them into here. All right, so one of the next things I need to do is open up this oil pump. Now the oil pump, to get these screws out, you're going to need yourself a hand impact driver. Mine was actually getting pretty old, and so I just actually went and bought a brand new one. I don't know if I like it as much, but it did work. So yeah, these Phillips screws, you're going to need to get yourself one of these if you want to open this up. Hopefully this isn't too rusty. One thing I do like about this oil pump over top of the over the sandbar, the Subaru sandbar one, this one, let's see if you can see it here. This is an overflow, so when the oil pump produces more than enough oil, this little piston will open up. It's spring loaded and it will dump oil right back into the sump. On the Subaru, the aluminum is crimped and you can't get the piston out to service it at all, lubricate it up or sand it down. Like this one's got a little spot of rust in here that I got to deal with. This one's got a circlip, so you can actually pull a circlip out and pop that all apart. So that's pretty nice. I like that. I will be doing that as well once I get this apart, but let's just see what this looks like inside. All right, fingers crossed this isn't too rusty inside. Oh, so far so good. Let's just make sure before I pop this out. I see there's a dot here on the outer ring. I'm looking to see if there's one, so I know this face is up. Let's just see if this, because these have to go back in the same way. Oh, it can only go one way. There is a bit of rust on there. Damn it. Yeah, hopefully that's just a little bit of 600 grit. Hopefully you can get that off. It doesn't look too bad, but there definitely is a little bit of rust. Let's see if I can get this on camera. Yeah, you guys can see that. Right in here. Oh, there, it wiped off. Yeah, there's a little bit of pitting. There we are, right here. A little bit of pitting on there. Definitely more than I'd like, but you know what? It's gonna have to do. I'm not gonna buy another oil pump. It's not bad. Anyway, we'll get this all cleaned up inside. Of course, I gotta get a new seal. What's this in here? This must be hopefully from dismantling. A little piece of silicone. There's lots of silicone on this thing. There's not a lot of gaskets. This whole engine is put together with silicone. But yeah, actually, next thing, let's just pop this. Where did it go? Pop this circlip out of here and get this piston out. I never really like circlips. They always tend to spring and fly away on you, like this one wants to do. I get my fingers in here so it's somewhat captured. Try a different set of pliers. I think these ones will be better. There we go. So you got a circlip, sort of a retaining washer, your spring, and your plunger. Right there, that came out nice and easy. There's your little plunger. So a little bit of rust on here I want to clean up with some 600 grit paper. Okay, so I took some 600 grit paper and I went around and cleaned up the oil pump gears. It really was just surface rust on there, nothing major, so I'm happy to put these back. So basically, actually before you get crazy, let's take this wedding ring off because I'm gonna wreck that thing. We'll put basically some engine assembly lube on here. There we go. Just smear that around and put this back together. Again, you want to make sure the dot is facing up. And this part here, it doesn't have any markings, but it can only go one way. This machine down, this little shoulder goes into the bore here. So yeah, like I say, you can't get it wrong. There we go. That is put together. Spins nice. So now we'll just put the cover back on. Use my same tool to drive these screws in, and that'll be the oil pump put back together. All right, that's got the oil pump put back together. You know, any little bit of rust that was on there, again, was just surface rust, and I've got that off. It spins nicely, so I'm happy with that. Last thing I got to do, obviously, on here is put the seal in once it arrives. Now, when you're taking these off, see if I can get it. You look closely. Where are we here? Right here. These grooves all the way along here, these little indentations, that's where your silicone is. So when you put this back together, you put your silicone on this, on the timing cover. But my point here is that you want to make sure you get all of the silicone out of these grooves. So I used a little X-Acto knife blade and I took my time and took all the silicone off. And yeah, so now this thing is totally clean, ready to go back together. I'm going to do the top of the timing cover needs a little bit here. So I'm going to just go around that and get that all cleaned up. But yeah, just now's the time to get everything all clean, ready for reassembly. All right, there's not a lot of assembly that I can do on this thing. But with the oil pan all cleaned up, the next thing I can do is put the baffle back in. So it's just held on, it just goes in like this, held in with a bunch of 10mm bolts. So we'll just go ahead and put that in. There you go, baffle's all in. Now one thing I still do need to do is get a little bit of silicone off the base, off the face of the oil, but there, that one's still full of silicone. So I do have to go through here and get a little bit of this stuff still off. That's no big deal. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to remove the pistons from the rods as I have got new pistons coming. All right, so I just pulled the piston rings out of one of these pistons. And the next thing I'm gonna do is pop the little snap ring out that holds, that retains the wrist pin. These can be a bit of a pain to get out. They can be a bit of a challenge. But what I've got is just a little, oh, this doesn't look like it's gonna be bad at all. Yeah, that was super easy. Now these do not get reused. All I did was just take a little pick and pried it out. And hopefully these just slide out nice. Oh, they do, that's nice. So it's just a matter of sliding those wrist pins out. Like that. take the connecting rod out, and there you go. So the new pistons should come with the wrist pins and these clips, but we'll just put these over here to the side. But yeah, so there you go. There's a connecting rod, and as I told you, this little arrow, I know which way this is orientated compared to the piston because of the little arrow that's on the bottom. So let's just quickly pull these connecting rods apart. So to no surprise, this wrist pin does not want to come out. It is tight. You know, again, that much force going through a connecting rod to bend it like that, it doesn't surprise me. So, and actually, you know what? This is going to be going on my wall of shame, so I'll leave the piston connected. And also, this piston is not being reused, so I'll keep it on the rod. That way I don't get it mixed up. These pistons, really, if I run into a problem in the future, these are reusable. You know, they're a standard piston. I don't really throw anything, any K-truck related thing out because you just never know when you might need something. But I'm going to pull the rest of the piston rings out and do a little bit of cleaning up here. All right, so I got everything cleaned up and organized here. The valves, I got all the valves cleaned up. I will have to lap them into the head after I get the head back from the machine shop. I got the main bolts. These are the bolts that hold your, I call it a girdle, but it's all your main caps basically. Got those all cleaned up. Interestingly, the bolts that hold the crank in, the main bearings, are the exact same bolt as the head bolts. It's kind of interesting. But anyway, it's all cleaned up now. The next thing is basically waiting for parts to arrive. Once the new pistons show up, I'll be able to take them to the machine shop and they will bore the cylinders out to match the pistons. And then after that's done, it's all assembly. I've printed off a manual. Here, I'll show you. I went online and printed off a manual for this engine, and it's got all the details in here. It's actually pretty good on how to overhaul one of these engines. One thing I did learn, which is I don't like about this engine, the valve lifters or valve followers, I thought these were hydraulic because you can see they're kind of a two-piece. But what this is actually a shim. So that shim is specific to this cylinder to keep the right clearance with the valve and the cam. So with that said, now I've got this labeled in a bag E6. So this is exhaust valve number 6. I just grabbed it. But I've got basically you put the camshaft, when the valves are all in, put the camshafts in and then use a feeler gauge and there's a clearance you want to check. If the clearance is wrong, you need to replace these shims with a different shim. I hate that. I've seen a few engines like that. It can be pretty expensive or time consuming to try and order up some shims. But what I'm hoping is when I lap these valves, they're actually going to be sticking a little bit more proud. So the clearance might be not enough. And if that's the case, I can take these and just get them surface ground. I'll pop them out, mark each one as to how much has to come off and just surface grind them down maybe 1/1000 of an inch. But anyway, I don't like those. I like a hydraulic lifter or at least ones that you can adjust like on the sandbar. Anyway, that's about all I can do for now. Okay, so that's pretty much going to be a wrap for this video. I just wanted to show you what this is all like inside. It's all cleaned up. It's all organized. The valves are ready to go. And it's at the point now where I'm waiting for parts. They should be here next week, and then they'll go to the machine shop, and that's going to take a little bit of time for them as well. So anyway, yeah, that's going to do it. So yeah, thoughts and comments down below. If you haven't subscribed already, hey, do so you'll know when the next video comes out. And yeah, thanks a lot for watching and have yourself a great day.